First, giving honor to God, who is the head of my life. To Pastor Ricard, First Lady Ricard, in their absence. Minister Trim, Mr. Bose, Minister Angela in her absence. To you, my brothers and sisters in Christ. It's another day's journey, and I'm glad about it. Not going to be long, but there is a word from the Lord. Would you turn to First John chapter 4? First John chapter 4. First John chapter 4, and we're going to begin at the 16th verse. We prepare for the holiday season. We do understand the reason. We know why we celebrate what we celebrate. But as times begin to get a little different, seems like everybody doesn't understand why we celebrate what we celebrate, why we do what we do. Working in retail, I'm beginning to see a different clientele of people who are not happy for what's about to come. They made it all about gifts and not having what they need in the store and not having the food that they want to cook and running out of the toys that they thought they should have and forgot about why we actually celebrate why we celebrate. The other day I had a conversation with a lady who was really upset about her daughter wanting a dollhouse that we didn't have. And she cussed me up and down the wall because she chose to wait on something she saw a month ago. She wanted to wait to get it. I understand that you couldn't get it then, but I've come to the realization if it's not there when I get back, that means it may not be what I need. She didn't understand it, and I asked her, I said, so do you actually understand why we're celebrating what we're celebrating? Her answer to me was, young man, what you're telling me right now don't mean nothing because you don't have the house that I'm looking for. So if this conversation ain't going to get me the house, I'm done talking. Looked at her and I said, ma'am, you have a blessed day. I said, but before you end this year, something's going to happen and you're going to remember this conversation. You're going to come back and say, baby, I'm sorry, but I understand who you were talking about. Verse 16 reads, and we have known and believed the love that God hath to us. God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, God in him. That's enough. Going to talk briefly on the topic, the God in you. Notice I said the God in you. Didn't say the God in us because I've realized that some of us have it, some of us don't. There's one thing I've realized in my 42 years on this earth. It's two things. You either got it or you don't. You don't need a theologist or a doctor or scientist to explain it to you. All you got to do is wake up every day and realize I got him or I don't. Want to tell you something. If you wake up to realize that, the first thing you got to understand is you got him. Even when you don't acknowledge him, you have to understand you got him. How do you know you got him? Because you woke up. But even to wake up to have to discuss or debate the situation, the fact that he was good enough to shake you so you can debate whether you got him or not tells you that you got him. Now I've came to understand that as long as I got him, I don't need nothing else. We have to understand that when God is in us, our lives should reflect He's in us. And notice I said us, but in you, you have to know whose you are and whose you live for. My grandma used to tell me as a child, baby, every tub has to sit on his own bottom. And I didn't understand that, but now I understand that I can't live my life for somebody else. I got to live it for myself. And I'm realizing every day that it's prayers that she prayed, and she's not even here, that he's still answering for me in my life. How do I know? I remember hearing her praying, saying, Lord, please take care of my baby. And now every day I wake up, I see him taking care of me. Well, there was a prayer that she prayed, and even when I don't pray, her prayers still are answered. You don't understand that it's a lot of prayers that went to the graveyard that God is still answering just because those people took the time to pray for you. How do I know? When I wasn't living right, when I was waddling in sin, when I was straddling the fence, and I was living the way I want to live, he was still blessing me because she was getting on her knees every night saying, take care of my baby. And understand there was times in my life where I didn't realize what I was going through. I didn't realize what I was facing. I didn't realize that I was up against. And it took her and other people praying, saying, get it out of him for me to be able to see. Sickness, I'm laying there and I can't even talk for myself. Come over and put their hands on me. You didn't put your hands on somebody and pray for somebody before. You didn't touch somebody and ask God to bless them and he blessed them. You didn't touch somebody's finances and God has helped them. You didn't touch somebody's ailments and God has delivered them. You have touched somebody before and God has done some things for them and they weren't even in their right minds. How do I know? It's been times where you've been walking down the road or in the store and somebody walk up to you drunk, high, hungover, and they're not even in their right mind. They come to you all crazy. And the first thing you do is say, Lord, take care of them. And you went back to the store the next week and they were still there. Don't know how they were there. They were there because you prayed and asked God to look over them. When your kids leave home at night, don't know what they're going. They tell you, Mama, we going to the mall. But they're going other places. Mama, I'm going over a friend's house. We just gonna sit around the house and watch TV. Well, she didn't tell you that drugs was gonna be in the house. She didn't tell you that alcohol was gonna be in the house. She didn't tell you all these other things were gonna be in the house. But because you said, Lord, take care of my baby, everything that went around or on around them didn't affect them. Somebody didn't slip nothing in they drink and they didn't realize who they were. Somebody didn't slip nothing on them and they didn't realize who they were. Somebody didn't rape them or impregnate them and they didn't realize. It was things that happened because you said, Lord, watch my child. I want you to understand, children, it comes a time in life where you got to be able to do that for yourself. My mama can teach you and train you, but at some point you got to pick up some wings and fly. She can bring you to church every week, but at some point you got to start understanding what's happening in church. She can bring you into the church every week, but sometimes you got to start remembering them scriptures. Why? Because when you in school and things are getting bad, you can start remembering and replaying, and those things can come to your head. When you're sitting there and you don't know the answers to the test, you can play back, Mama told me I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. When you're sitting there and you don't know why you're here, and you can remember that he said God so loved the world he gave his only begotten son. It's things that they teach you to help you in life. But you got to have some God in you. First thing I've realized, when I have God in me, there's something I have to do. The first thing I have to do is I got to get rid of my feelings. You didn't catch that. My feelings don't matter when it comes to God. What I'm saying is, let me break it down. When that person comes to you and they're saying crazy stuff to you and they're getting all on you and they're making you mad and they're saying things that they shouldn't say, your feelings cannot get in the way. What I'm telling you is you can't come back at them because they came at you. You can't tell them I ain't been saved all my life because they're coming at you. You can't tell them, hold up, you better not talk to me, I'm grown, and then go back at them. Just because they cuss you don't mean you got to cuss them back. I keep bringing up my grandma, but I remember her telling me this also. She said, son, don't you argue with a crazy person. I said, Mama, why? She said, because if somebody that don't know y'all walk by, they got to be able to tell who the crazy person is. I said, what does that mean? She said, well, if both of y'all arguing, I don't know which one of y'all crazy. So I'm just going to leave. So if you don't want to crazy, don't say nothing. And that's what's wrong with a lot of people today. We walk around and we can't tell who's with us and who's against us. What does that mean? I can't tell everybody who say they love the Lord by the way that they're living. Yeah. You ain't the only one. I ain't the only one. You are. You work with some people who talk to you about God every day, and as soon as you round that corner, they're a whole new different person. You done seen it before. And if God is in us, people have to be able to see that God is in us. So we got to live that life whether we're around people or not. We got to live that lifestyle whether folks we know are beside us or not. I got to live a life of God every day. The folks shouldn't come up and wonder what church you go to. They should already know. How do they know? By the way you carry yourself. They know how the pastor and the first lady of New Beginning are. So the members should be the same way. You ain't catch that. They got to be able to see who you are for them to be able to understand what you do. But if you're telling me you're a member of a church, but you're out there acting a certain type of way, then folks don't know what to do. Or you get the wrong perception and the devil thinks he can get in there because you're going in there too. That's how he enters in the house. A lot of times he come in the house because we bring him with us. Why do we bring him with us? We driving to church, minding our business, listening to church music. Somebody cut us off. First thing we want to do is cuss them out. Start pointing finger. You know the finger, this finger. Yeah, we give them this finger, and we say some stuff, and they looking at us. Got our white hat on, got our dress on, got our stuff on, got decked out, and I know they ain't going to church. They coming down Barksdale Boulevard and see us turn in the parking lot. The first thing we get out the door and do is slam the door, walk in here, and let me tell you what she just did to me. Instead of saying, Lord, I'm sorry, I forgive you. Let me do this the right way. Forgive that person that did it. Because if you forgive them, then you forget about it. You ain't got to act a certain way. If the person treats you the wrong way, let them treat you how they want to treat you because they got to answer for that. But when you try to go retaliate, when you try to go do it your way, now you got to pay for it. Because the moment they go and say, I'm sorry for what I did to Sister Word, God's going to forgive them. But if Sister Word is still holding a grudge, now she got a problem with God. And that's what's wrong with our world today. We don't know who's with God and who's without God because of the way they act. It's more church folks acting up than it is regular people. And we sitting there asking them to do what's right. We sitting there asking them to follow us. We sitting there telling them how good God is, but they can't see it in us. It's no way I'm going to do something that I can't see no resemblance in. You can tell me that if I use Jiffy Lube, my oil change would be good. But if everybody go there and they motor come out bad, then I don't need to go there. So what I'm saying is, if you tell me I need to come to New Beginning because God is good and he's doing great things for us, but my attitude is saying something different, then folks are not going to come. They come because they like what they see. That's why a lot of people ask you where you go. I may be wrong, but every time I see somebody and they do something wrong, the first thought that comes to my mind is what church they go to. Because I want to know what they're being taught. Now, if I know the pastor and I know that the pastor's good, then I know it ain't what he's teaching them. But if I don't know and I'm seeing the way they act, I have to question what's going on. So what I'm telling you is you got to be careful how you act because that's a reflection of where you come from. And it may not be how it is, but because you acting that way, you give us the title. You didn't catch that. When you act a certain way, you give us the title. And that may not be the right title, but because we act that way, that's how it comes out. So we got to have some God in us. I got to get my feelings out of the way. I can't start doing everything based on how I feel, and I got to start doing it based on how God wants me to do it. You got to ask yourself, what would Jesus do in this situation? What would God do in this situation? I'm learning now. I can't answer every question somebody bring me right at the moment. I got to pray about it first. I got to pray because sometimes my inner man gets involved with my spiritual man, and sometimes I act a certain type of way. So I got to step back and not let the flesh take over and understand I need to pray about this situation and move in the right way. And a lot of us move just to move. I was in here this morning, and Minister Trim said something to me that I'm taking back with me. And a lot of times when God gives somebody a message to give you, you got to pay attention to it, and you got to take the nugget. And he sat down with me this morning, and he told me, bro, sometimes you got to hit the reset button. That means you got to reset what you're doing because whatever you're doing ain't working. And that doesn't mean it's not right. That means it's not working. And you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expect the same results. Sometimes you got to stop and start over and say, I know I was wrong. Let me go back and try this again. And that's what we got to do in our spiritual lives. We got to reset and start over because the way we're doing it is not right. Not only do I not have to get in my feelings, the second thing I have to develop when God is in me, I got to have some patience. You didn't catch that. I got to have some patience. I can't rush and do everything that I want to do, how I want to do it, without consulting with God and finding out if it's right. I got to have patience when I'm dealing with people. I got to have patience when I'm dealing with the devil. I got to have patience because it's things, if I'm not patient, will cost me in the end. One thing I've always learned is the best sense is about sense. Yeah. Sometimes we go out and we buy stuff we ain't got to buy because we're doing things the way we want to do it. But after you get that ticket and that tag, it teaches you not to do it again. You know, you get upset about something and you get mad, you want to break it, you want to throw it, you want to get upset with each other and throw stuff at each other, and then next month you got to replace it, and then you think about it after it's time to replace it. Lord, I really didn't want to buy this TV, but they made me mad and I broke it. Now you got to buy some sense. So what happens the next time? You think about it. When you get that mad that you want to break something, you think about how much it's going to cost, and you say, Lord, thank you. No, I thank you that you taught me the last time because I ain't doing it again. You got to learn to have patience. And when you have patience with people, things are a little bit different. Because folks know how to get on your nerves. You ain't catch that. Folks know what to do to get to you. Folks know what to say to get to you. Let me tell you something. Y'all know the story, the spiel. I used to give it until I learned a little bit better. It's three things you don't play with: my mama, my money, and my family. And when I tell you that, I'm giving you the key to get to me. Because when you get mad, what you gonna play with? My mama, my money, and my family. So when you go and you tell somebody something, sometimes you give the devil the keys to get to you. And let me tell you something, the devil has wings just like the angels. So it be people that you love, that you give this information to, that's using it to get to you because they're jealous of what you got. And they're jealous of how God is doing things. And they're jealous of how God is working with you. So the three things you tell them don't touch, they touch. How you know? When you walk in the house, everybody doing what they doing. And when you walk in the house, they treat your kids different. You know how I go, family. We getting ready for Christmas. Everybody coming over to visit. Everybody can sit on the couch but your kids. You know how it is. Everybody can go fix a plate, but they got to fix your children a plate. Yeah. You know how it is. Everybody gets some but your kids. If they start picking on your kids, they start telling, go sit down, don't touch nothing. Don't sit on the couch, sit on the floor. They're doing that just to see how you're going to react. They doing it to see, and this is the time of year where it happens, because they see, oh, yeah, Trim thinks she all that. Then she come in with her new shoes on, and Minister Trim bought her a new purse, and so y'all start picking on Paris. Y'all treat her different. Yeah, watch how they act. And because you already know what he's going to say, don't play with his family, his kids, and his money. Well, we ain't got no money to play with, so let's play with his kid. And they do that to see how you react. And the moment they do something to Paris, oh, it's going down. Why? Because that's my baby and you ain't going to play with her. But you got to learn to say, Paris, you know what, baby? It's going to be all right. Let me tell you what's happening right now. The devil is trying to get us, and they're getting us by using the people that we love. Don't you take this the wrong way. Don't you understand that what's going on. You'll understand one day. Don't get mad. Don't get upset. Let's go and let's leave. You get what I'm saying? And that's how you fix the situation. But you don't want to see Paris see you hop up and go to throwing stuff and shaking the table and dumping the plate, because now we're teaching our children how not to react. But the only way they're going to learn patience is they got to see us do it. And the only way we learn patience is when folks start to do things to us. We got to learn how to react. Every action don't deserve a reaction. Jesus promised he would take care of you. So if he promised he would take care of you, why are you trying to fight the battle? If he promised that he had you, if he told you that I got you, then you ain't got to fight your family. You can get down on your knees and you can pray. Because again, yes, I do think I'm all that. I think I'm all that because I've learned who I am. I learned who I represent. I'm not going to walk around with baggy clothes on and no good. I'm going to walk around looking like who I represent. And if I represent him, I got to put my best foot forward. And if you mad at how I dress, then go get you some. If you mad at how I look, then go get you some. If you mad at what God has done for me, then you go get your God. And that's how you fix that. I'm not going to fight and argue with you. I'm not going to throw nothing. I'm just going to keep on bragging on what God has done for me, because he's so good that even in the midst of trouble, he can hide me. He's so good that even when things are going wrong, he can protect me. He's so good that even when the enemy's coming against me, he can give me words to speak. I ain't got to fight and argue with you. I'll just keep boasting and bragging on how good he is. And if you're mad now, just wait till I come back. You didn't catch that. If you're mad at what he's doing for me now, just wait till I come back. Because I've learned that the more I give, the more he'll give me. So when you make me mad, I'm just going to give a little bit more. When you start talking about me, I'm just going to give a little bit more. That $20, $30 I was going to give you, now I'm going to give it to him. I'm just going to give a little bit more. I got to learn how to treat you so you can learn how to treat me. But I'm not going to argue, fuss, and fight with you. I'm not going to go that route with you, because the moment I go that route, I lose everything I've worked for. And the devil knows that. He sees what you're doing. He sees your progress. He sees how you're changing. He sees how you are on the job. He see how you are at home with the kids. He see how y'all become a united family and things are moving. So now he's going to try to react. But you got to learn one thing. If he did it before, he can do it again. So when folks start talking about you, you ain't got to be hiding and scared. You ain't got to, oh, I'm going to put on my bad shoes today because they're going to put on your good shoes. Good God, good shoes. Good God, good clothes. Good God, good food. You got to understand what good means. Good don't always mean you got to hide everything you got. Good means sometimes you got to show folks. I can sit here and tell you every day what God can do. But when you remember how I used to be, and now you see where I am today, that's living proof of what he can do for me. And now that I can show you, and then let me tell you something. I've learned I figured out the math. I know when God is doing good things for me. How do I know? Folks start talking. Yeah. So don't get mad. When God starts doing things for you, folks start talking. Oh, look at them. They think they all that. Yeah, they think they done arrived. I remember when they had that hoop and now they got a new car. They want to do this. I remember when they was asking us for money for a hotel because they lost their house and now they got them $6 billion. They think I don't think I'm all that. I'm thankful that I'm a child of God. And because I'm a child of God, let me, when you know when you've arrived, when you get a new walk, you remember how it used to be. You get up in the morning and you walk to the mailbox. I already know what's in there. Cutoff notice. The school call. Oh, Lord. Now when they call you, hello. Good morning. How are you? How you feel? I'm great, blessed, highly favored in the Lord. How are things with you? How's your family? How's things going? Oh, the mailman's coming. Woohoo! Are you happy? Because you know what God is doing for you. And when he can change your walk, when he can change your talk, when he can change your lifestyle, you're in the right place. And sometimes you're in the right place. And because you're in the right place, you get the right stuff. And when you get the right stuff, you get the right things. And when you get it, you have enough to pass to somebody else. You didn't catch me now. It's been times where you've picked up the phone out of the blue and called somebody and gave them something, and what you gave them was what they prayed for. You didn't know it, but God works so good that now you got it right. You're able to give to somebody else. Now you're doing what's right. You're able to. And the moment they try to pay you back, all you tell them is, girl, just give it to God. That should be your answer. Give it to God. I don't want you to pay me back. I don't want you to worry about how you're going to pay me back. God has been good to me. And because he's been so good to me, I'm able to be good to you. And now that I'm good to you, you'll be a blessing to somebody else. And that's what's wrong with the world today. We started cutting off the blessings. How we cut it off? You give me 10, I got to give you 20. You buy me something, I got to buy you double. That ain't how it works. God said 10%. He didn't say half. What I'm saying is you give him 10%, you give somebody else you won't have. That's not how it works. How it works is sometimes you got to give stuff out of love. Every year, my wife, every year she'll tell you we give up so much stuff just because God has been good to us. Because I remember when I didn't have nothing. You didn't catch that. I give now because I couldn't give before. And because I couldn't give before, my kids still had Christmas. When I couldn't give before, my kids still had food to eat. When I couldn't give before, my bills was getting paid. When I couldn't give before, I didn't have gas, but I was still able to get around. So now that I'm able to, I got to learn to give back. And once we start giving back, things will be so much better. That's how folks see the God in you. That's how folks see what's going on. Sometimes we forget. We forget how bad things were. Now we've arrived. We forget who did it. We didn't do it by ourselves. If we can talk about it, it wasn't nothing we did. It wasn't nothing we did. If it was left up to us, we'll still be in that same hole. Why? Because we dug the hole. And he brought us out. And I heard that if he has to reach way down, he'll still pick me up. But what I got to do is when he picks me up, I got to reach down and grab somebody else. And that's where it cut off at. We so busy worried about folks getting ahead of us that we don't help them when they're under us. Because let me tell you something, if you get ahead of me, then I know I always got somebody to lean on because of what I did for you. You got to learn to understand your blessings just keep on rolling. Yeah, they may be over you and you may have picked them up, but don't you talk about it because one day they may have to help you. And they're liable to help you because of what you did. You remember growing up in the neighborhood? If you ain't have something, somebody gave it to you. Now in the neighborhood, if you ain't got it, you better not knock on their door. They subject to try to shoot you, kill you, or do anything. Only because we've cut off our blessings. I can remember as a child, it was never a day that we wanted for anything. We didn't have much, but we never wanted. Nowadays, folks got it and don't want to share it. But let me tell you something. I serve a God that even when you cut me off, he'll open another door. You didn't catch that. Yeah, you telling me no. But he already told somebody to tell me yes. So I'm going to keep on trying. I'm going to keep on pushing. Stop giving up. That's our problem. We got to stop giving up. We got to stop getting tired. Let me explain something to you. It's okay to get tired in your journey, but you can't get tired of your journey. You didn't catch that. I'm going to give it to you in biblical terms. So when Jesus was getting ready to cross the river, he told them, let's get on the boat and let's go on the other side. The wind was blowing. Everything was tired. And the Bible says Jesus was back there asleep. Remember? He wasn't asleep because he was tired of the journey. He was asleep because he got tired in the journey. And sometimes when you get tired in the journey, you got to rejuvenate yourself. And that's when you get tired, you sleep. You sleep to rejuvenate yourself. And then the moment that he got up, he said, peace be still, and he was able to do things. And that's what's wrong with us. We get tired in the journey and we give up. You can't give up. You got to keep on pushing. You got to keep pushing because there's something for you on the other side. And if he didn't expect you to make it to the other side, he would have never told you to go. And that's what's wrong. We get tired and we stop. But we got to learn to have patience when it comes to the God in us. The last thing we got to have, and I'm going to take my seat, is we got to have love. That four-letter word means a lot. Because we got to understand he loved us so much that he gave his only begotten son for us. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think, DJ, I give him up for you. Now, I may down the line, but I ain't got there yet. But God was so lovely that he gave his only begotten son because he knew I was coming and I was going to be a sinful little something and I needed somebody to lean on and depend on and trust in. And he loved me so much before I got here that he did it. So I'm asking you, if he can do that for you, why you can't love the people that you see? If we learn how to love, things will get so much better. We learn how to love, the death rate will go down. We learn how to love, the churches will be packed. If we learn how to love, we wouldn't have any of the issues that we're having because we love each other enough, it wouldn't cause a problem. I love you enough that I'm going to take care of you even though you did me wrong. I love you enough that even though you talked about me, I'm still going to help you. I love you enough that even though you get for my bad, I'm still going to look out for you. I love you enough that even though you touch my family, I still forgive you. I love you enough that I'm going to forgive you even though you done me wrong. We got to learn how to love one another. The day we start loving one another, things will be so much better. Start loving people, your blood pressure will go down. Start loving people, your diabetes will change. You start loving people, stuff will start happening that you didn't think can happen. Start loving people, the world will be in a better place. If we try love, hate will be out of the way. Once we move hate out of the way, we'll be able to make it to the next journey. God loved us enough that he gave his only son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. How many of you know what everlasting life is? That means when I leave here, I got somewhere else to go. The old people used to sing a song that says, sending up my timber every day. You got to send up your timber. You got to help people to send up another 2x4. You got to help people to turn up another 2x6. You got to help people to get the screws up there. You got to learn to love so that God can love you. And he loved you already. So that should be enough for you to give that love to somebody else. My ask is that whoever it is that's got that hold on you, let it go. When I say hold, that's the person that you're angry with. And you can sit there in your seat right now and think of one person that you're mad at right now. Let it go. Think about how much better your life would be if you let that one thing go. And I guarantee you it all started over nothing. All started over nothing. Some of it started on how they did you. It ain't even what you did to them. Let it go. If you let it go, you'll feel so much better. If you let it go, God is going to do something so miraculous in your life that you ain't going to be able to stand it. And it's all because you let that one thing, because that one thing is what's holding you from getting it right now. You may not believe that, but that one grudge, that one person is stopping you from that blessing that God has for you. If you wake up and let that go, watch and see what he do. But you're going to come down here running and thankful for what God has done in your life. It's all because we learned how to love. So if you got God in you, you got love. The doors of the church are open.